You hear that? You hear that? That's the USC defensive line hunting down your quarterback. This is the Student Body Right USC podcast.
Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Welcome, everybody, to another glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful morning out here in Southern California. USC is now, we'll put a wrap on the kind of a recap of the USC Trojans game versus the Washington State Cougars. Cougars came in with a high-flying offense, a really good quarterback, solid running game, and they leave the Coliseum with the loss. USC beats them 30 to 14. Good job by the Trojans here. And I know some people have some differing opinions about everything going on with the Trojans, but I'll just kind of give mine. I think one thing that you kind of look at this team and people keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, whether it's Joe Klatt, whether no matter who it is, about Feinberg, whoever it is with the team, and they're talking about the run defense, and this is going to be that's going to be the thing that kind of hurts them and stops them. They play one of the highest scoring teams in football, in college football, on Saturday, and they give up 300 yards and 14 points. Now, I'm not sure like how you want to divvy up that 300 yards, but I mean, Cameron Ward only had 172 yards passing, had a couple touchdowns, a QBR of 40. So that's not good at all as far as that goes. But I mean, they did a great job of pressuring him. This is the first USC team I've seen in a long time that did a pretty decent job against a mobile quarterback. He is a mobile quarterback. I know Jenkins got loose. I mean, listen, 13 carries on 30 yards. I mean, that's not great. It's not good at all, but that's where they chose to get their offense from. I mean, they ran the football 13 times. Maybe they should have ran it more. Maybe that would have been a key to their success in this game. But I think also in that game, if you're coming to play USC and the Collie and they're undefeated, like there's a couple of times where they were in that fringe area. One time they punted, and second time they didn't go for it. You kind of got to go for it. At every situation you have, if you're going to try to upset USC in that moment, but they weren't able to do so. And I really thought that USC did a great job of getting stops, getting the traditional stops. I know everybody's talking about how they didn't they were getting lucky with these turnovers. They didn't turn the ball over. Washington State didn't turn the ball over once in this ball game, and USC still held them to 14 points. I mean, these second half shutouts that they're becoming famous for, you got to be impressed with it at some point. Excuse me, I got a cold. But at some point, you got to be impressed with it because they're shutting out high quality opponents with not giving up any points in the second half of these games. I mean, that's impressive. So no matter how you kind of, excuse me, no matter how you try to spin that, that's really impressive by them. And if you can't understand that, you can't see that, then that's just I'm not sure what we're waiting for here. I think everybody's waiting for this game, just like the Bills when they play the New York Giants, where the Giants a long time ago we're playing the high-powered, Buffalo Bills with Jim Kelly, where just ran the ball the entire game and just kept the play, keep away for the whole game. That's really hard to do against USC. At some point, you're gonna have to throw the football, and they've done a really good job against the pass. They've been disciplined in their zones. When they played man, they played pretty good sticky coverage in that. And in this game, you didn't have Shane Lee. The college football and USC doesn't really give you a lot of injury stuff, and that injury stuff was was tough because you go into that game, no Shane Lee, then Kalen Bullock got tagged with a targeting play, so he got kicked out of the game. And I tell you, people don't like the targeting play as far as that goes, but I like the targeting play. I kind of like it. I mean, you're making the sport is making a constant decision to protect players at some point. And I know that it's very tough because he's 6'3", the receiver is 5'8", so it's difficult for him to find that low target as far as that goes. But you gotta try to adjust. I think he did try to adjust. I think he led with the shoulder too, so that was just kind of weird to me that they called him for targeting. But the targeting rule in college football, I do like. I don't think it's a bad rule. I think it's not something they are making a I mean, and plus they give you no chance too because it just says, hey, you're out of the game. Like they don't give you any opportunity to come back in the ball game or plead your case or say, maybe you're sit for a half. They just say you're out of the game. So it makes you work as a player to stay on target with your tackling, and I like the rule. I know sometimes the way it's implemented is not the best, but I do have no problem with the rule is as far as that goes. But Nick Figueroa, Tuilopu just did a great job in this game. Just getting pressure and pressure and pressure. 3 sacks. The tackles for loss, all that stuff. I mean, the guy's gonna be playing on Sundays, doing a whole lot of stuff in the National Football League because of his ability to pressure the quarterback. And I think Bird and Figueroa came in. Jalen Smith came in with a tackle for loss as well. They're doing a really good job of getting to the quarterback. And like at some point you're gonna have that's the thing about it is like as much as everybody wants to see and you'll see this week against Utah. Utah can run the football and they play more like a little bit like Oregon State. So that could be a tough game. And obviously, the game lost a little bit of luster because they lost in kind of blowout fashion to UCLA, who's playing great football right now, who's also undefeated. Los Angeles football is really playing really well right now. But with that being said, I mean, USC keeps finding ways, finding ways, finding ways. There's always somebody different. Speaking of somebody different, it was Travis Dye. Travis Dye with 28 carries, 149 yards, 1 touchdown. It really kind of settled down an offense that was going back and forth a little bit. Offense was kind of going up and down. Some drops, some incompletions. So it wasn't all on Caleb Williams, but it wasn't all Caleb Williams' fault either. I mean, Mario Williams had some drops. I think Brendan Rice had a play that he could take back. Jordan Addison got hurt late in this game, but they were trying to do a good job against Jordan Addison, double coverage. But USC has so many weapons that it doesn't really matter. I think the one thing that USC could do in this game, in these games coming up, would be to get McCree and get Epps in the game. I think they only use those guys in the red zone area. I think you can definitely use those guys are two really good, talented tight ends, and that could help kind of move the chains and keep things going in the passing game. And that could then once you complete a couple of those, then you can get the ball to Jordan Addison, who I know is starving for the football on every single play as far as that goes. Let's see what else we got here. So USC 6-0. Even Malik Brown got a little bit of it. And I do think you gotta this whole like thing with not being able to get some other backs involved. And I think the thing about not getting other backs involved is that you got to be able to block in this offense. And if you can't block in this offense, you're not going to play. And I think that's they've been making it very clear that if you don't block in this offense, you're not going to play on the not going to play on Saturdays. You're not going to play for Lincoln Riley because he's not going to sit there and watch you get blown up in pass protection. And they do need to be able to have somebody. I'm not sure if Malik Brown is that guy, but they do need somebody to come in and help with Travis Dye. Travis Dye is doing his best, but he's doing a little bit too much. I mean, talk about a guy's body who probably needs that bye week so bad. He needs that bye week so bad. It's kind of crazy. And Austin Jones is supposed to be that guy. And Austin Jones right now, the senior transfer from Stanford, has just not been. He can run the football, talented runner, can catch the ball out of the backfield, but he's really getting blown up in pass coverage. I mean, he's getting blown up bad in pass coverage, and that's a big problem for him as far as getting time on the field, for him getting an opportunity to play in these big games, and they could use him. I mean, they could definitely use him. I mean, Travis Dye is really good, but though his style of runner, this little Earl Campbell style that he loves to have, like it's going to be a situation where you're going to end up with him really really struggling to finish the season. I mean, you're asking a lot out of him to keep doing that. So tough place to be as far as the running back situation goes. I like Travis Dye. I love what he does. I think he's underrated catcher out of the backfield. Also, a guy who just runs the football with reckless abandon. I mean, they do a great job of running the football. Running this is kind of a balanced running team, especially when they run right at you. I am right behind Nealon and Dedich and everybody like that. So they do a good job there. I think the one thing I would say about USC would be the tackles are struggling just a little bit. There's a little leakage in the tackle area. So that's where you see a lot of pressures getting to Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams doing his whole, his Houdini act as far as like getting out of cover, getting out of the pocket, and taking plays on the field, like he did to Mario Williams on that first touchdown. Also, his ability to just slip and just slide and just spin and just go out of bounds, stuff like that on some of these quarterback runs. I think he really needs to learn how to slide. I think he also needs to stop taking on tacklers. I know he's a winner. He's a tough guy. But I mean, the last thing USC needs to do is have their star quarterback go down. I think a couple of things too is I think a couple of times he ran running out of bounds. He could have thrown the ball away to save field position, and he's like taking like the 6-7 yard loss. That'll come with experience. He still doesn't have 20 starts to his name, and he still needs to be able to do that as well too. So always some things to improve on for Caleb Williams. I think that's one of the big things too, being able to throw the football. Um, to throw the football away when you're going out of bounds to save yourselves that yardage. Don't take a 7 yard loss when it's 1st and 10 and you're getting pressured. You throw that ball out of bounds if there's nowhere to run as far as that goes. So Austin Jones, a name to watch because they have to get that pass. They have to start doing pass rush a little bit. I do think I think two players who might break out in the coming weeks. I think Malik Brown is really close. He almost had a screen pass that went for big yardage in this game. I also think Brendan Rice is a guy who is coming along pretty well as well. So we'll see what happens there with him. Um, Let me see what's going on with this part of it real quick. I just see so one thing I will say too is Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison did get hurt. You always have to be worried and concerned when it's below the waist injuries for players who are skill position players. That's always something you worry about. Like so that's something that you have to be concerned with. We won't know until game time. They limited access to practice under Lincoln Riley. So maybe if you see him running, maybe if some of these outlets see him running around in practice, you get a chance to kind of get the word in about whether or not he's playing or not. He did come back into the game to show that he was a gamer. So good for him. But he definitely banged up on I think he was running a route down the field. He hit knees or hit his leg with a defender. Wasn't anything malicious or pass interference or anything like that, but he did get hurt in that game. So we'll have to see whether or not he returns to the lineup against Utah. Let's see here. Looking at more stuff. Corey Foreman, got some burn today. Got some burn on Saturday. Did a decent job. Getting pressure. I thought the whole line did a good job getting pressure. I think the one thing that Alex Grinch and I think a lot of these guys don't do is that when they have their team, when they have these teams backed up, they kind of rush four. But when they get to like the fringe red area or the red area or the red area in general for scoring, that's when they try to pressure. Me personally, there were some drives in this game where they were starting way back. And as far as the field position goes, Washington State, just go after them then. Like put pressure on them then. They almost, I mean, you can almost get a safety. They threw a backward pass in the end zone where if you had more pressure, maybe that ball gets away, you get a safety out of that or a touchdown. So those are some things that I think UCLA could have. I'm sorry, USC could have done. And I gotta give a shout out. I give a shout out to a much maligned group on USC, and that's their special teams. They have not played well on special teams. They don't have a special teams coordinator on this team, and I thought I did a really good job as far as just coverage, as far as the return game. You know, he did a really good job in every aspect of the game and special teams, and that's a big that's a big step forward for this team because it was a situation where they could have lost games on special teams. And you can't have that. You really can't have that. I think Rashawn Davis came in after Jordan Addison got hurt, came in. Yeah, there were a bunch of fair catches, but listen, he secured the football for his football team. You go from not playing to playing immediately because Jordan Addison got hurt. So I do give him a lot of credit for that as well. And USC improved in that area a great deal. Hopefully that part continues because you don't want to lose a game. I lose the Pac-12. You lose the opportunity to maybe play for the dare I say the playoff and play for the whole thing because because somebody can't catch a fair catch. Somebody blew a coverage or had a holding penalty on a return. Those kind of things. So good job by UC by USC there. Eric Gentry, normal game for him. Middle linebacker kind of stepped in and did his role a little bit more so than because of Shane Lee isn't there, and maybe the run game, maybe the run defense would have been a little bit better if they had Shane Lee. But Eric Gentry had a solid game in this one as well, as far as that goes. But special teams, offense. I think the one worry area that people are still having is, maybe the mechanics of Caleb are getting a little bit off for the Trojans. I think even the touchdown pass through to Mario Williams on that free play, he was wide open. Great catch by Mario to go down and get the ball, but that ball should have been like more in his chest area because he had his man beat easily for a touchdown. So that growing pains a little bit with a young quarterback. He also is I think at some points in these games kind of burping the baby a little bit, like that he only has one turnover all year, and part of that could be because he's holding the football a little bit. There's times where he should probably let the ball rip. I think maybe there's times where Lincoln Riley probably would want him to like kind of rip the ball down the field. He didn't. He didn't do it. And then next thing you know, you're in a situation where you're getting a sack or you're running for your life. And those are kind of things that you want to see. The Trojans kind of try to not do as much. I want us kind of going into the next game. You kind of want to see a little bit more of a crisp passing game. I mean, that balance of screen passes, wide receiver screens, plays down the field, plays, and also the plays just to keep the chains moving. There's times where it's just like 3rd and 7 where you just want to just keep the chains moving. The Trojans had a situation here where they had I think had 2 or 3 and out drives. That's not something that's really acceptable for Lincoln Riley. I mean, he definitely hates that stuff. When you're a play caller, on that, I never seen a play caller with such a little piece of paper as far as like the play sheet, as far as that goes with Lincoln Riley. But so that's what you want to see them do, a little bit more cohesiveness in the passing game, coming up here. And I still think the underrated thing, they have two really talented and big pieces on their defensive line. I'm sorry, in their tight end room. I think those two, they have two really, those guys are really big guys, and they're hard to Malcolm Epps, and per se, just a guy who can just really just it's just huge. He's a big target, and I think he could really help move this offense into another stratosphere as far as what they can be offensively, which is they're still a pretty good team. You can almost say like, hey, you know what? They're a run first team. Like, they had great balance in this game. They rushed the ball a little bit more. Then they passed it. I thought Cat Williams had 9 rushes for 34 yards, so that kind of boosted up a little bit. Malik Brown only had two carries, and then they had that reverse on 3rd and 1, which I thought was a bad play to Jordan Addison that lost 7 yards. So you can't have that. But as far as no receiver on the team went for 100 yards in this game, no fumbles lost, all that stuff like that. So the secondary again, I thought played very well against a really good wide receiver core. They'll get tested again against the Utes. The Utes are probably fuming after that loss to USC or to UCLA, and hopefully they will get a loss to USC as well. But good quarterback, good running game. So another test, and you know what, USC is not favored in this game. So think about that for a second. USC is going to Utah, and the people who set the lines think USC is going to lose this game. So it's only like a 2-point spread or whatever, but they think USC is going to lose this game. So think about that for a second. That USC is going to lose this one, and we'll see. We'll see if they do fall apart and lose this game. I don't think so. We'll preview that during the week. But Student Body Right USC podcast, kind of putting a wrap on USC versus Washington State. Hopefully by the next podcast, my nose is cleared up and I can actually not have the sniffles and not fighting the sneeze every time I'm talking on the podcast. But Student Body Right USC podcast, Dwayne Douglas here. I'm gonna leave you now, and then hey, listen, this week got some good guests. Gonna preview the Utah game before the bye week. Big game for USC, 6-0 right now. They're 7th in the polls, so we'll see if they can improve their stake here, beating the Utes on Saturday. All right, Student Body Right USC podcast. See you next time. Right on.